The Munsters was one of the most successful sitcoms of the 60s, taking advantage of the public's infatuation with classic monster movies. The show followed a family whose members were all based off of classic monsters, from Frankenstein's monster to Dracula. In the role of Father Herman Munster was Fred Gwynne, tasked with playing a spot-on caricature of Frankenstein's monster. As one might imagine, the heavy makeup and costume took an incredible toll on the actor and his health. Join Factsverse as we explore how Fred Gwynne almost died for the Munsters. The Munsters ran from 1964 to 66. Although the series only lasted 2 seasons, it continued to air in reruns after its initial airing and is still considered one of the most popular sitcoms of its time. The show was centered on the novel premise of following a typical sitcom family that happened to be made up of caricatures of classic monsters. The grandfather was essentially Dracula, and the father was essentially Frankenstein's monster. Fred Gwynne played the latter. He was born in New York City on July 10, 1926. His father was a partner in a notable securities firm known as Gwynne Brothers, and his mother was a performance artist who had gained some fame around the city thanks to her various comedic characters such as Sonny Jim. Fred's parents had 2 other children who both died well before their time. These were the first of several tragic deaths Fred experienced over his lifetime. Much of Fred's childhood was spent in the states of Colorado, Florida, and South Carolina, despite the fact he was born and initially raised in New York City. Fred's father was forced to move around continuously due to his work. Sadly, his father died while Fred was still young. He had gone to the doctors for a fairly innocuous sinus operation that freakishly turned deadly after an unfortunate mistake. The loss of his father was devastating to Fred, who was only 8 at the time. A few years later, he began going through the growth spurts that would lead him towards his eventual staggering height of 6'5". Of course, this came to his advantage when playing Frankenstein's monster many years later on the Munsters. However, Fred still had a long ways to go before life took him on the path to success. Fred had a hard time fitting in with his peers before his growth spurts. However, he managed to escape his anxieties by dedicating his time to his school's theater department. He had a predilection for performance at an early age thanks to his mother and found he had a natural talent for acting on stage. After graduating high school, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy. There, he was given a job as a radio operator aboard a submarine chaser. This was during World War II, which meant Fred was given plenty of work to do. Legend has it the job took a toll on Fred due to the cacophonous and monotonous nature of the Morse code beeps. Apparently, he broke down in tears on one occasion due to the noise, and was subsequently given a different position. He returned from World War II in the 40s and worked for a time as a swimming instructor in Massachusetts. He continued his education, attending Harvard and graduating in 1951. While there, he was a cartoonist for the Harvard Lampoon and sang with an a cappella group. And he continued performing on the stage in theater productions for the school's drama department. After graduating from Harvard in 1951, he moved back to New York City. There he continued performing in small theater productions while working as a copywriter for a local ad agency. In 1952, Fred was given his first role in a Broadway production. It was called Mrs. McThing, and Fred was cast as a gangster. Due to his intimidating demeanor, he fit the bill perfectly. He then quit his job as a copywriter. Fred continued performing on stage for a few years before making his first appearance on the cinema screen. This came via a role in the film On the Waterfront. Although the role was so small he didn't even get a credit, the film was a major success, and it allowed Fred to be seen by more people than ever. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Factsverse for more. Soon after making his first appearance on cinema screens and On the Waterfront, Fred Gwynne made his first TV appearance. Apparently, Phil Silvers had taken notice of Fred's small role in On the Waterfront and tracked him down to cast him on a show. He appeared on the Phil Silvers show shortly afterwards, playing the character of Corporal Ed Honegger. The character proved popular with the audience and was brought back again in another episode. After his appearances on that show, Fred was given an even more notable role on the cop sitcom Car 54, Where Are You? He was cast as Patrolman Francis Muldoon and was perfect for the role thanks to his size. However, his time on the show led him to the role that was even more perfect, and that was Herman Munster on the Munsters. Fred was said to have nearly turned down the role, and he possibly should have. Though both the show and the character were incredibly successful, they took a toll on Fred that haunted him for the rest of his life. As one might imagine, the costume and makeup required for Fred to accurately portray Herman Munster was both daunting for the actor to have applied and daunting for him to perform it. He had to take supplements so he didn't suffer from dehydration during his time in the makeup and costume due to how much he sweated. He began losing a great deal of weight while on the show, and many became concerned for his health. Despite this, Fred managed to survive filming the Munsters 2 seasons. But other tragedies occurred around that time period. In 1952, Fred had married his first wife. She was named Jean Renard. Together, they had 5 children. They named them Gaynor, Kieran, Evan, Madden, and Dylan. Dylan was the youngest, born in '62. When he was less than a year old, he drowned in the family's swimming pool. The dark shadow of his youngest son's death loomed over the production of the Munsters. A year after second child Kieran's birth in 1954, he suffered a brain injury that left him seriously disabled for the rest of his life. Fred and Jean remained married until 1980. A year after they divorced, Fred returned to the role of Herman Munster in a made-for-TV reunion film, The Munsters' Revenge. Following this, he had an unlikely career renaissance that saw him being cast in various films over the course of the decade. Through the 80s, Fred appeared in The Secret of My Success, The Cotton Club, Fatal Attraction, Pet Sematary, and many more notable films. In 1992, Fred gave the most acclaimed performance of his later career in the hit film My Cousin Vinny. Sadly, the actor's newfound fame was cut short only a year later due to his untimely death. The actor sadly passed away in 1993 from pancreatic cancer. He was 66 years old. In 1988, Fred had married his second wife, Deborah Flater, and they were still together when he died. His final acting role was performing the voice of real-life historical figure Edwin Stanton in the 1992 made-for-TV educational feature depicting the life of Abraham Lincoln, titled Lincoln. The actor's most iconic role remains Herman Munster, despite the fact the Munsters only ran for 2 seasons. Many believe the Munsters was canceled after only 2 seasons because of the success of Batman. That show came on the air in 1966, the year the Munsters was canceled. Now it's time to hear from you. Comment down below to share if you're a fan of Fred's portrayal of the iconic character Herman Munster, or if you were surprised to learn the role was so hard for him to perform. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.